Hey guys, welcome back to Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel today to check the episode out. And we're gonna be talking about topwater fishing today. I wanna give you guys some tips and advice on how to make a bass hit a topwater lure, because there's some things you can do to actually trigger the strike with a topwater lure and actually bring the fish off the bottom or bringing them out of a suspended situation where they actually attack a topwater lure. Now, a lot of this has to do with the lure you're throwing, the color you're throwing, how you're working it, the cadence, the speed of retrieve. There's a lot of factors that actually determine whether you can trick a bass into actually hitting a topwater. So we're gonna dig into that in today's episode here. And also guys, that we'll be talking about just every topwater. I mean, I don't have one particular topwater we're talking about. So I'm gonna put my topwater link and my tackle warehouse link in the description of this video. And if you guys would like to order, some of the baits I'm talking about, or if you need to get some topwater lures for your fishing, using that link of mine is a great way to support Intuitive Angling, as the channel gets a small percentage of a commission on anything you buy from Tackle Warehouse. So really appreciate that. And also guys, thank you very much for everybody that's hit that subscribe button here at Intuitive Angling. It's free and easy to do so. If you subscribe and like the videos and hype the videos with that hype button, it really helps the channel. And also guys, we do have channel memberships. If you want to go to the next level and support Intuitive Angling, you can be a channel member and get private videos that aren't seen by the public and access to my private live streams I do. Just go to my YouTube homepage and hit the join button for information there. So I really appreciate that. Okay guys, there is a ton of different categories of topwaters. You've got your chuggers like this, your poppers, you got your walking topwaters, you got your slosh baits like this. I mean, you got prop baits, you got buzz baits, you got whopper ploppers, you got just a unlimited amount of different topwater lures out there. But they all remain the same in the sense that they are surface lures. And in order to get a bass to bite a topwater lure, you have to get that bass to come to the surface to hit a bait, which isn't easy to do a lot of times. Because here's the thing about topwater fishing and a lot of stuff about bass in general is bass do not like to leave their comfort zone. And their comfort zone can be, it could be next to a lay down log in the tree, it could be underneath a boat dock, it could be swimming out there in the middle of the lake, 20 foot deep, over 100 foot of water. Every bass is different. It's sort of like humans. They have unique personalities, they're individualistic, and their comfort zone are different type of structures and places on the lake. So in order for them to actually bite a topwater lure, they have to be positioned in an area such to do so. And not only they have to be positioned in that area, they have to be in the right mood and the personality of the fish to bite that. And you got to have the right set of conditions. So there's a lot of stuff that lines up in order to actually get a strike on a topwater lure. The most important being, once you do have those things fall into place, which we'll talk about here in a second, is you've actually got to trick the fish into biting a topwater lure through manipulation of that lure. Okay, now here's the thing that sort of like, let me give you some ideal scenarios for a topwater lure. Topwater fishing can work in a wide range of conditions in terms of water clarity and water temperature. But in general, you're going to have a window of, like, if you've got water temperatures below 55 degrees, and especially if you have some off-colored water, this is not conducive to topwater fishing. Your topwater fishing is always going to be better in water temperatures of over 60 degrees, and especially if you have some visibility. Topwater fishing in general is not very good in dirty water. You might catch a few fish on a buzzer or something in off-colored water, but a topwater lure, it's not only a visual lure, but it's also a sound lure, and it's more of a visual lure than a sound lure. So you've got to have some visibility, and that's why topwater fishing is generally considered a really good technique for clear water fishing. And I've caught fish in the gin clearest water, guys. I've caught 18 foot of visibility before or more, and I've caught bass in about the dirtiest water I've caught topwater in has been about a foot of visibility, and everything in between. But given that, the water visibility that I like for my topwater fishing depends on the topwater lure that I'm using. Say for example, if I'm fishing like a chugger, like a popper, or a buzz bait, something like that, maybe a whopper plopper, something that is a noisy type lure, I like a little bit of color to the water. Not where it's dirty, But if I'm fishing those noisier type top waters, I want to have my water visibility of at least around 2 foot. 2 to 3 foot is going to be the ideal for that. And different type of top water, say if I'm working a walking top water like a Megabass Diamante or Zara Spook or something like that, or a wake bait, baits like that that are not quite as obtrusive a little bit, I want clear water. You know, I want that fish to be able to see that Zara Spook walking side to side like that, or I want the fish to be able to look up and see the wake from that wake bait out there. So every lure category is going to have a different set of conditions that it works the best in. And also with that, you're going to have different type of lure colors and profiles, because say for example like the Zara Spook line, you got the little Zara puppy that's that big, and you've got the big super spook that's 4 times bigger than that. Every lure has this, like 1/4 ounce buzz bait or a 3/4 ounce buzz bait or a little bitty whopper plopper or a big whopper plopper. You have to learn to get the right size of profile bait in order for them to actually bite that top water too. And in general, what you're going to have is, I like my top waters like sort of like this. If that water temperature is between like the upper 50s to the mid 70s, I like a little bit larger profile top water lure. But if the water temperature is over like 75 degrees, I like to go down in size. I like to use smaller top waters like 1/4 ounce buzz baits and downsized whopper ploppers, especially in over shallower water. But to me, it's like, you know, if you have water temperatures in the 60s, that's a really good time to use a larger profile. And also, a larger profile top water is going to work better on your low light conditions, like your cloudy, rainy days or early in the morning right off the bat, and downsize in other type of conditions. Okay, so let's get into the meat and the potatoes of it, how to actually generate a strike from a top water fish. Now, assuming that you have the right color, which is a big deal, color can make a big impact on it, and assuming that you have the right profile and the right genre of top water, the whole gist in the game of generating a strike with a topwater lure has to do with how you're working the bait. Now, here's what you want to do. You have to figure out the right pace of the bait given the conditions. Sometimes they want a bait moving fast. Like, you know, if you have clear water and warm water, sometimes you have to work that popper or that walking topwater or that buzz bait or that whopper plopper at a fast retrieve. If you've got a little bit colder water, and especially if that water's got a little bit of color to it, you're going to have to slow down. So let me give you one example with like a popper. If you take a chugger to like Bull Shoals Lake in Arkansas and you pull up on a main lake point with it, and that water visibility is 15 foot of clarity, and that water temperature is 75 degrees, I'm going to be working that popper fast. I'm going to be going boom, 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 boom. But if I take that same popper, and let's say it's April and the water temperature is 60 degrees and the water visibility is about 2 foot, I'm going to throw that popper like to a riprap bank, and I'm going to go bloop and let it set. And I'm going to go bloop and let it set. It's the same bait, but I'm going to be working that bait different. So you have to figure out the pace and the speed of that top water to generate the strike. It makes all the difference in the world. Sometimes they want a fast stop and go retrieve. Sometimes they want just a straight fast retrieve. Sometimes they want a medium stop and go retrieve. Sometimes they want a straight medium retrieve. Sometimes they want a slow retrieve. Sometimes they don't want any movement at all. You know, I've had a lot of situations like with a floating Rapala minnow or, again, a popper or a prop bait, where I throw that thing out there in the water. It could be calm around some shallow grass, and I'll twitch it one time, and I'll let it completely sit still and let all those ripples dissipate, and the bait is just sort of floating along the surface like that. Maybe the wind's blowing it just a little bit. I'm not moving it, and a bass will come up and annihilate it. I don't know how many times, guys, that I have made a cast with a topwater, and I've thrown it out there, and say I got a backlash, or I was reaching down to get something off the floor of the boat, and the topwater is just out there floating on its own, and all of a sudden a fish gets it off the surface. So you have to figure out what the pace and the mood and the personality of that fish is. And just some general general rules of thumb, guys. It's almost like the more windy it is, the windier it is, the more that you have to slow it down just a little bit so those fish can find it. And if it's calmer out, a lot of times you want to speed it up so the fish can't get a good look at it, and everything in between. But there's no absolutes in this. It's like it's day in and day out what the fish want. I'll give you one example. We were fishing a tournament down at Lake Eufaula, Alabama, quite a few years ago. And I was catching a few fish on a buzzbait, nothing great, but I was getting some bites occasionally on it, just with a typical throwing it out there and reeling it in like just a medium retrieve. My buddy Danny Correa was in that same tournament, and he came over to me and said he had a freaking load that day of big ones, and he was burning that buzzbait like almost as fast as he could crank it. And he showed me. I'm like, I can't believe that they're biting that buzzbait that fast. And he just happened to get onto it by chance, because he made a bad cast one time and he's reeling it in real fast to get his bait in to make another cast, and one hammered it when he tried to reel it in real fast. That's how you figure things out. Or on the other hand, being slow. A lot of times you figure it out they want it slow because you've got a backlash in your reel and you're sitting there picking it out while that bait's floating and one grabs it. So experiment, and this is the key, guys. The key to generating that strike on a topwater, once you got your color right and your lure profile right and you're in the right area, is the cadence and the retrieve. And it's just like a jerkbait or it's just like a crankbait. You got to experiment to see what the fish want day in and day out. So anyway, I hope it helps out. We'll talk later.